Detailer's Roadmap Cruise Control, where we navigate the roadways of life, business, and everything in between. Hey guys, it's Kevin Davis from the Cruise Control Podcast, brought to you by Detailer's Roadmap. Today, I am here with Michael Abens, who falls into the category for me of how did you get in here guests. I think I've said this on my podcast before, but there are certain guests that I just feel really honored to not only have on the podcast and be able to have a discussion with, but also to call them friends. And Michael is definitely one of those guys. Let me run through a little bit of brief intro, and then I'll let him fill in the gaps. He's the owner and CEO of Abens Solutions, LLC, the development firm that created Urable, an industry-leading business development platform designed specifically for automotive businesses, specializing in ceramic coatings, paint protection film, vinyl wrapping, window tinting, and detailing. The business is not Urable. And he has more than 30 years of executive experience, which is amazing because you're so young, and business principally in large healthcare companies. Michael is one of these guys like that, meeting him and seeing how humble he is and genuine, and you wouldn't really know all the cool crap that he's done in his life. And I look up to him from a business standpoint, but more specifically from a family standpoint. You know, Mike and I have had a lot of discussions about that, and the way that he runs his business, his life, his family, and his marriage are things that everyone should emulate. So that's my dripping bromance introduction.
That's a wrap. Let's just end it right here.
We just did it with all the good stuff, right? No, but no, I appreciate you being on. Fill us in. I always ask on this podcast, give us your detailing superhero backstory, but it's really a business superhero backstory. And you know, go in as much as detail as you want. Some of my guests do 5 minutes. Some of my guests do 25 minutes. But like, fill us in, because I think that sets the stage for people that are listening. Like, oh, this is just that, you know, that app guy or whatever. And it's so far beyond that, and gives so much credence to the expertise that you bring to not only our industries, but other industries as well.
Well, thanks, Kevin. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's tough to sum up, 30 years of a professional career,
right,
in a snippet. I mean, we could go on for days. But I think it's more for me anyway. I don't know if this is true for everyone, but when I look back at my career, I'm going to be 62 next month. And when I kind of look back and summarize things, it really comes down to a mindset that I've had. It's not any particular skill set, I think, that maybe is unique to me. It might be things that I've developed over time and honed, I think, certainly. But for me, it was a mindset of never letting the impact that I'm capable of creating be defined by the role that I am in.
That's awesome.
So I think throughout my professional career, I always, went into a specific role, because that's what you do in these large corporations. But I didn't let that kind of, cocoon the impact I could have. So, call that guts or whatever, or self-belief in yourself. But I always tried to make a mark, regardless of the role I was in, all the way down to, changing an entire area of medicine in my first job, out of college, basically.
Yeah.
Because I had a friggin' idea, and I saw it through.
And talk about that part of it. I know I want you to go into the rest of the story, but if you can just give us the highlights of that, because that's one of the things I'm like, holy crap, that is super cool. Well, whenever you told me that story,
I think it's the benefit of fresh eyes, right? So the main drug at that point in time for DuPont Pharmaceuticals was Coumadin. It's still around today. But at that point in time, when I joined the company in 1988, it was 40 years old at that point.
And that was the main, basically, like that. If you needed blood thinners, they threw you on Coumadin, right? Yeah.
That's right. I mean, Coumadin was like Kleenex. You didn't call it tissues; you called it Kleenex. It was so branded, right?
Right.
So everybody called it Coumadin, right? Because that was the anticoagulant that was used. So when I started with the company, I recognized, that the drug, it was fantastic for what it did, but it was very, very difficult for physicians to kind of squeeze the medical benefit out of it for their patients. So because of the difficulty in managing that therapy, a lot of physicians chose not to prescribe it, even though patients could medically benefit from it, because they didn't want to have to kind of inherit that liability of prescribing this drug that they knew was tricky to manage.
Yeah, because if you do that wrong and someone gets a paper cut and bleeds out, that's usually a
It's
bad
not
thing
good.
for the
Well, paper
doctor.
cuts
Right?
aren't going to bother you, but falling and banging your head
Yeah.
really hard and bleeding intracranially, that is
Yeah.
not a good thing.
Yeah.
Right? So, to try and really cocoon that risk was just something that physicians just chose to not prescribe it. That was their only choice. And when I started with the company, I said, well, somebody should do something about that. So, I took it upon myself to do just that. And I happen to have a brother who was, getting his MIS degree at the University of Arizona. And I called him up and I said, Tom, I've got this idea for creating a software system that can manage these really complex patients. So it's easier for physicians to prescribe this drug to everyone that can medically benefit from it without worrying about hurting them in the process. And, so I just went to work. I started getting the insight from cardiologists and asking, what would make this easier for you? And I just did the legwork. And then Tom and I worked on it. This was pre-internet. So,
Yeah.
this is phone calls at nights and weekends because it wasn't my job per se. But I just saw a need, and I didn't let the fact that I was a brand new rep in this giant company kind of stop me from seeing this through. So we saw it through. We got it implemented. And the drug went from 200 million to 600 million in 1 year because of this.
Wow.
It totally changed an entire area of medicine, and it changed the way DuPont actually promoted the drug from that point. They didn't talk about features and benefits. The thing was 40 years old. Everybody knows what it's about. They started talking about risk management. So they changed the entire marketing focus around the drug because, some kid came up with an idea.
A kid that not only was new but had no real programming basis, right?
I'm
Like
not an IT guy.
You're an ID guy, right? An idea guy, not an IT guy.
Yeah, I think I'm very good at connecting dots.
Yeah.
I think, as I've gone through my career, I think that is my superpower.
Yeah.
I can see the end, pretty clearly from the get-go. And the roadmap to get there. So if I have a unique superpower, I think that is it. I'm able to and then bring a team along with it, because you can't do the stuff on yourself. Nobody can achieve big things by themselves. I say I came up with the idea, and that is true. I didn't write one speck of code. That was my brother. Right. And then, I implemented it through Northern California Kaiser. So that was a lot of legwork on my part too. But then after that, it was an army of people at DuPont to really make this thing go. So nobody can achieve great things by themselves.
Yeah.
You need to have a team, and that just comes with, being able to be persuasive about your arguments and your vision, and roll your team into that vision. That's how you achieve big things. I don't care how smart you are. You still need a team to make things happen. In a big way.
And the skill set that you have, and I have a similar skill set in that, not to the degree that of success in this particular context, but to be able to find the resources. Someone will ask me something, I'd be like, well, I don't know the answer, but I'll either find out or I'll find someone that does. And so that's I don't need to know everything about everything, but I do need to know how to pool resources and get people and get good people in order to help me.
Yeah. That's how you get big stuff done.
Yeah.
So that was, that was very early in my career, of course. And that, I made a pretty big mark.
It's all downhill from here, Michael.
So, I got into some very good mentoring circles within the company at that point. I was given lots of nice opportunities for advancement. And, one of those, they offered me kind of, you can go the medical path or you can go kind of the business path. And I was a pre-med major going into the company. So I was very much on the science side of it. So, I mean, everybody was thinking, oh, Abens is going to, go this clinical route. And I went the opposite way because I didn't know shit about the business. And I thought, God, I should really learn, the real business of healthcare. Like, how does all this stuff work? It's so complicated. How does all this work? So that was the route that I chose. And,
And was that an interest thing? Like I mean, I know you said you're compelled to learn, but like, did you just have a natural affinity for that versus the science?
That route made me way more uncomfortable than going the clinical route.
Mm.
And I've learned, like, if a big opportunity makes you feel uncomfortable, that's probably the one
Right.
you should take.
Yeah.
Because there's a reason. It's kind of your body saying, all right, man, I'm going to gear up. I'm going to be uncomfortable for a while, but I am ready and I'm going to gear up for this.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I look at that kind of nervousness that you get when you're faced with something, a big challenge, something really new. We all feel that. I feel it too. When you're going to tackle something big, it's like, oh, geez, and a lot of, self-belief issues come in and all that, right? Everything comes along with that. But for me, I just kind of flip the switch on that and say, that's just my body getting ready, man. It's getting ready for battle. So let's
because if it doesn't scare you or challenge you, it's like, this is, that whole iron sharpens iron thing. You gotta, you have to have that resistance. And for somebody like me, I lift weights a lot. And the whole purpose of lifting weights is breaking down my body so that it builds itself up in preparation for going through that same thing again.
Yeah, that's a great metaphor. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's why I went the business route. And I just learned a ton through that whole process. And at the end of the day, I was just, now that I look back at it, I was just putting tools in the toolbox.
Yeah.
I didn't really recognize it at the time. I wasn't smart enough to really pick up on.
You weren't like, yes, I need to learn this for this and all. Right? Yeah.
It's not like I had this great strategic map on how to manage my career over time. No, there was none of that, right? This is more happenstance. And, but now that I look back at it, I'm like, God, I was, it was a smart route to go. I put a lot of tools in my toolbox that, of course, now I've used all of them, through my career.
Yeah. And then after DuPont, you did something else, right? You were at DuPont for how long?
Oh, gosh, 15 years. Yeah, did quite a few things there. I'm actually one of only a handful of people to have been honored with what they call their Summit Award twice.
Wow.
That is like a lifetime achievement kind of thing. Like the first time I was honored with that, it was around this whole Coumadin thing. Because that really changed things in a big way for the company. So they honored me with the Summit Award. That's the highest corporate award worldwide for DuPont. So we're talking 200,000 employees, and there's maybe 10 people that get recognized a year.
Yeah, not a lot of employees go from 200 to 600 million in a calendar year.
I know the first time I was awarded that thing, I got awarded in there with the guy that invented Kevlar.
Wow.
So it's like, I mean, you're really rubbing elbows with the movers and shakers, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a how did you get in here moment, right?
Yeah,
and I describe that because this is how I came up with that. We have been fortunate to be in groups of people or parties or whatever. And I always look around waiting for that security guard to come up and go, how did you get in here? And please come with me. Right.
Yeah. I don't see you on the list. How'd you get in here?
Right. Yeah.
No, so that was a pretty cool thing. And then I got awarded that again for, another thing I did to kind of save the company from impending doom. I won't get into that one. But it was, that just, it put me in some great circles. I had great mentors. I mean, Kurt Landgraf, just to name a name. Kurt was the president of the company then, and he was just awesome. I'd walk across hot coals for that guy. He was that good that he could just get you fired up and get you enrolled in his strategic vision. He was fantastic, and he really took me under his wing. And I tried to soak up every minute that guy would give to me because he was super busy, but, oh man, I took every word he said to heart, So I was really blessed and fortunate to have that type of exposure to great people.
And that mentoring aspect is something I think, especially in the detailing industry, that I don't think really a lot of people do. There's a gajillion trainers that can show you how to do, polish paint or clean an interior or whatever,
Well,
but
it's tougher.
we don't do it, right?
Everybody's an independent contractor type of thing, right? You're on your own. I was in a huge corporate structure.
Right.
So it was a little easier for me to kind of, find really good people that could, help me and get me to see my gaps and see, how I could be better at, being a leader.
Yeah.
Like when I got into, my first, really big position there at DuPont, I was really young. I was one of the youngest VPs ever. And so I had a slew. What was that team? 120, maybe 120 people. So I had a slew of people who were much older than me and much more experienced than me. Right. So that was a whole new skill set for me to learn. And I just tried to put them in a position to, help me get better.
And did you get a lot of pushback from that? I mean,
from some, because some, they saw that as the whiz kid kind of thing, and they might have felt passed by or something. And I understand that. And that's going to be inevitable in giant companies like that. You're going to have that kind of thing. But I was really careful about never kind of rubbing that in anyone's face. Because like I said, to begin with, there's nothing magical about me. I came up with an idea. Anybody could have done that. I don't know why it was me. Why didn't somebody do it, before I ever started there?
Yeah, 40 years in, right? Like, that's a long time.
There was a lot of opportunity for improvement. It's like, why did it take me to kind of do it? And I mean, I'm happy to own that, because that was a ton of work for me to see that thing through. So, if you're always going to have people that are going to be naysayers and find your success annoying, because they might, feel like they got passed by. But for those people, they gotta look inside, man. They gotta start questioning, why wasn't that me? Why didn't I, do that, or it's some other big thing.
So you weren't at home at night lamenting about all your haters and naysayers and that kind of thing.
Social media, then you didn't see any of it.
No, I mean, you just went back to your house and was just crying to yourself and talking to your wife about it.
Yeah. But yeah, the first big leadership role was a real eye opener, and I wasn't good at it. Like, I don't think anybody's good at that role when they first get into it. You really kind of have to get your sea legs. You got to figure out, what type of leader do you want to be? Do you want to be more of the, director type? Do you want to be more of the enrollment, friends type?
Yeah.
You really need to kind of see what fits you best.
And what kind of leader? I was the kind of, so I ran multi-million-dollar health clubs when I was probably 22, 23, which made me super young also. I was always like, let me put this backpack vacuum on. I'll go do this. You guys go do what you need to do. Like, are you that kind of leader, or more of like, hey, let's get charged up, more of a motivational leader?
Yeah, I found myself being, because I'm heavy, like I'm an ENFP in the old Myers-Briggs thing. So I'm just, my nature is to be empathetic. So I always, and it probably comes from my mom. She was always talking about, put yourself in other people's shoes. Don't be judgmental. You don't know where they've walked.
Yeah.
So that's kind of just ingrained in my DNA. So that manifested on the leadership side and trying to enroll everybody. So I was a big enroller into the cause.
Yeah.
And then people,
that's buy-in, right? We used to call that, that's the buy-in part of it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was more of how I tried to motivate the big team. But then, and then just deal, directly, have uncomfortable conversations with people that aren't warming up to you and aren't getting on board. And especially those that were way more senior than me, both in age and experience. But they report to me, or through my structure at least.
Yeah.
And I always looked at that like, I respect that, where they're at. But at the end of the day, do you want to be part of the team or do you not? You have to have a hard conversation at some point.
Yeah.
and then they just need to do some soul searching and decide, do they want to be part of it or not?
Yeah.
No hard feelings. But
Yeah.
you learn to have those tough talks. They're not comfortable for anybody. I don't care how many times you have to do it. They're never comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, because you're making, giving them the choice. At the end of the day, it's their choice, but that choice can, have huge impact on them personally. And especially as an empath, if you're an empath, you're going to be like, man, I just ruined this guy's family. When you really didn't, but like you have that feeling of empathy of what the person's going through, even though it's their own choice.
Yeah, well, it reminds me of an HR executive always told me. He said, I've never fired anybody in my life. People fire themselves. I just manage the paperwork.
That's really good, actually. I like that a lot.
So that's kind of how I really cut my teeth on the leadership side of things. So I had that for many years until the company was bought out, and then Bristol Myers Squibb got rid of most of us at the upper levels.
I mean, they like to do that when they want a whole new group of yes men, right?
But that's okay.
Women.
That's okay. I understood the nature of the game because they had 10 people in my role. They were a much bigger company than we were. So yeah, so that put me over to AstraZeneca, where I worked on some fun things over there, and then after 8 years there, I had the opportunity to leave, which was crazy thinking at the time because, I was really well taken care of there. I had just launched $1 billion drug in the United States.
Man.
So it was really fun. I had a phenomenal team, around me to make that happen. And then I had a friend of mine who, called me up and he said, hey, I just got a CEO position at this local little, home infusion company outside of Philadelphia. That's a failing investment by a private equity company. They talked to me into leaving Cardinal Health to be the CEO. He goes, you want to come over and help me save this thing?
Bring your bucket. We got a lot of bailing to do.
He's like, I think we can make a go with this thing. And I'm like, I just launched Symbicort,
Why?
But at the end of the day, I sat down with Vicky, my wife, and, I said, this is my chance to get closer to the patient again. Because that was one of the things that I missed as I moved up in these organizations. I felt like I was getting farther and farther away from why I got into it. I got into the pharmaceutical industry to help people. And, the higher you go, it's like the farther removed you get from that direct connectivity to helping patients. So I was really feeling that at the time. And when, my buddy gave me that opportunity to help him, resurrect this failed business, I took it, and Vicky supported me 100%. I was giving up the golden handcuffs, the whole thing. It cost me millions to actually make that decision.
Wow.
And I was really risking our retirement at that point. But Vicky said to me, she said, you've never failed at anything in your life. You are going to figure this out, and you are going to make this a success. And, we did.
And is it the challenge that leads you to make that kind of, because that's a big ass decision, right? Like you don't, because
that was a very big decision. That's
so many people will just say, I'm just comfortable. I'm making great money. I've got a great retirement. I'm just going to sit over here and kind of ride it out, right? Like, what is the motivation in your mind, other than obviously getting more involved in patient care again and being closer to the patient? But how does, because we can scale that back to your average detail shop, which, they can make different decisions.
Yes, but they're making big decisions all the time too that impact their family.
Yeah.
So for me, gosh, man, it's really tough to dial that one back because at that point in time, I mean, I was really happy at AstraZeneca. It wasn't like I was just going to sit back in an easy chair,
you're not like rich and miserable. You're like rich and happy.
It was really fun, I'm traveling over to Europe, and I mean, it was really cool, I was really loving life. So I think that whole thing for me was it was an immense right turn. for me, and a huge upside in a shorter period of time. Like, when you're in a big organization, your retirement is far out.
Yeah.
You get involved in something that's owned by private equity, and it's a much shorter window.
Yeah.
It
could be a bad window, could be a good window when there's VC involved, right?
There's a double-edged sword there for sure, which I got very, familiar with. but those guys invested, well, they bought the original owner out for, $55 million. It wasn't kidding around money.
Yeah.
And then in 18 months, that company was destroyed. It was a 25-year-old company, and 2 people they put in charge of it killed it in 18 months.
That's
so
crazy.
There was $55 million that just got flushed down the toilet. So that was the situation that we went into voluntarily.
You could go, it only goes up from there. That's
what we thought, What's the premise? It's like, how much worse could it get? Well, they could close it entirely. And, I just left my job.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So, we just went to work and figured out, how to save it. And, that was another thing. It was very similar to Coumadin, where I went in there with fresh eyes. I looked at their business model and what they were doing. And, I pretty much put a bullet in it. I really did. I put a bullet in it, and I picked the one group of patients that they never wanted. Super complex patients, high risk. And they had, I don't know, 50 of them. They didn't want 51.
Wow. Yeah.
And I looked at that group of patients, and I looked around at all the competitors nationwide, all the big boys, and nobody was doing it because nobody wanted to touch it. And I said, let me sink my teeth into that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I can figure this out. And we did. So from 2008, I started the company down a path to become the leader in intrathecal drug delivery. Super complex area of medicine where you're infusing drugs continually into the spine.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really serious. This is why nobody wanted to try and tackle this at scale. So I did the work, I just did the freaking work.
And is that like data gathering and, it seems like a great way to meld those two business and clinical sides together, right?
Honestly, there's data, but it was more intuition. Like it was just, okay, if we are going to do this at scale, I need to manage this risk. Okay, define the risk. There's the risk. How do I cocoon that? Then you just start backing it up, saying that I need this system, I need that system, I need to train people like that. And you just invent stuff that has never been invented. So we invented our own electronic medical record to deal with intrathecal drug delivery.
Wow.
There wasn't one. So I had our IT department make one for me. I said, this is what it needs to do. This is how I want to communicate with the doctors and all this. And then we just started. And it took off like a rocket ship once we did it. And
well, that's an interesting approach, though. Like I never, that is what a lot of entrepreneurs and business people do, which is we're not entrepreneurs by nature are not risk averse, but we're risk aware, and we take actions to mitigate the risk. Like we know it's there, but we don't let it run away. And so you basically said, look, I want to manage the risk at every possible point of this process. And by doing that, I create this huge system.
Yeah, well, it's the thing I do too. It's starting with the end in mind. So I knew, where we needed to be in terms of the level of care that we could deliver and the systems that would need to be in place. None of them existed. It's kind of like Kennedy saying we're going to the moon, not knowing how it's going to happen.
Right.
Then you just start backing it up from there. And you build the things that you need. Long story short, 4 years after joining the company, we sold it for $200 million, a failed investment. So that's what can happen when you get good leaders in place. Like they put those 2 guys in charge that killed it in 18 months. We got in there, resurrected it, and turned it into something way bigger than the original, founder ever imagined. Because he didn't want to tackle it either. He was, he was living the life,
And then every VC that ever existed had your phone number and was calling you on what do you want to do next, Michael?
You get a lot of calls. they're coming out of the woodwork now around Urable, I'll tell you. It's unbelievable. I don't know how
Yeah.
they find me.
Well, I'm sure some of your buddies, that you've made friends with and played golf with, they're like, hey, you know what Michael Abens is doing now? You should give him a call.
Yeah, so that was a super fun thing, very rewarding.
Yeah.
We grew the company really, really big. I think I was the 33rd, 34th employee when we took it over, and when I retired 10 years later, we're in the 900s.
Wow.
So yeah, we created lots of great opportunities for people. These are really good, professional level jobs. Created our own training institution. It's the only one in the United States that's accredited.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's lots of things that needed to get created to make this happen. And it was just really fun being the leader of that whole thing and recruiting good people.
That leads me to a question that I've asked a bunch of people that kind of have that level of success. Let's say financial success, right? Like that's a big number, but every one of them will tell me it really had the number is the icing on the cake. That looking at my investments and my bank account and all those kind of things, that's nice. It affords me the opportunity to do different things and all that. But that wasn't the goal, and it wasn't the actual payoff, right? Is that something you would agree? Because I mean, a lot of us. If we're a guy making 50 grand a year, he's like, man, that is a ton of money. I would love to have that kind of money, right? Well, it's not all about the money, right?
Yeah, it's not all about the money. And trust me, I only got a little smidgen of that money.
Yeah, right. But yeah.
That's how it is in private equity. They're the ones putting up all the money.
First in, first out, right?
They're just beating on you as the operator to make it happen. So I'm not going to say you don't get rewarded handsomely. You do when you do, well, like we did. Of course, you would expect that, right? I mean, that was 24/7 for 10 years. That was a long, long sprint for me. Yeah. So I was really ready to retire when I got the company really settled in and got them into another area of medicine, built the team, and I'm like, I'm out, boys.
Yeah.
But
the success, and I kind of know the answer to this, but I know that you don't define success based on that, right? Like
it's not the money. I mean, money is a great thing to have. It gives you opportunities to do things and help people. But no, that was always the byproduct of the work and the desire to do good.
Yeah.
That was more my thing. Like I know going through my entire professional career, I never once asked for a raise. They'd come my way because I did good work, but I never went asking for it because that was never the thing. It was always like, oh, that was nice. That's great. Yeah. I'm making more money. Hey, right. It's like, but it was never, an expectation either. I just wanted to do good work, and thankfully I was in situations where I got financially rewarded for that.
Yeah. Because I think so many small business owners, and I've said this many times in many different avenues and venues, but it's like, if money is the main objective, you will literally never reach that objective because there will never be enough.
Yeah. It's a bad thing to chase. It's like chasing zero. You're never going to get there. You can't or chasing infinity. You're never going to get there. If that's how you're defining happiness, you're never going to be happy.
Yeah.
You got to be happy with where you are, whether you got $10 or 10 grand in your pocket.
Yeah.
You got to kind of make peace with your situation and be happy with it. And then if you're not happy with it, well, then you need to choose to change.
Right.
That's the one thing we all have as human beings, right? We have the ability to change our situation. You just need to do it and see it through.
So many people make themselves the victim of their own decision making. And it's like, wait a minute, everything that you've done and the decisions that you've made, and obviously there are caveats to this, but in most people's situation, there have been decisions that got made along the way that put you to where you are right now. And I always say, as it turns out, those things are probably your fault. But the good news is, if it's your fault, you can actually change them. You
Well,
know,
and find benefits in it. I
yeah,
mean, I've made, jeez, I've made like countless numbers of bad decisions.
yeah.
Right?
I
Right?
did this morning like 12 times, right?
You gotta learn from it, right? You gotta accept it. I mean, nobody's perfect, for
Yeah,
Christ's sake. That's a stupid, expectation to have of yourself. You are going to make poor decisions. I think a skill that everyone needs to kind of develop is, recognize that it was a bad decision and make another one.
yeah,
Don't just like lament it. Then freaking do something about it.
yeah.
Too many people, they kind of let themselves be victimized by it. It's like, no, you did your best. You made a decision. It didn't turn out. Make another one.
Yeah. I always used to joke with my girls and I would say, sometimes your best just isn't good enough in a particular avenue, right? Like you may try and beat your head against the wall or whatever, and maybe that was just not the right path. So change the path, and then all of your effort and what is your best actually will pay off. And
Yeah.
with my own businesses, my own life, I just pretty much expect to fail at most things that I do, knowing that to be ready to make those changes when they come along. Right.
Yeah. And there's benefits in really everything, and the
Yeah.
wins and the losses. You're
Yeah.
gonna have them both through your career. It's inevitable.
Yeah. I mean, if you're lucky, if it just goes really easily, then you're not. I mean, how boring would life be if it's just everything you did was super easy? And I mean, they say that about like trust fund kids and all that kind of stuff. I had a conversation with a guy that had sold a business kind of in that same number that you just gave, but he got all of it. And so he runs, and I know you didn't. He runs in those circles. And I asked him, I said, what do you see the work ethic looking like in terms of, rich people? Because he hangs out with those kind of multimillionaires, billionaires. And he basically said, well, anybody that made it themselves has a very, very strong work ethic, tends to be more conservative with their money, all of those things. Anybody that didn't, all the trust fund kids that are second, third generation, they typically, have no work ethic whatsoever, because you need those failures and those challenges.
Yeah. Yeah. And, once we made some money, we were careful about that with the kids, our kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And thank God, we didn't screw them up, because they're amazing. Kyle and Chris, and we had a little ceremony here last night, actually. So we restructured the company, and the kids are now official owners
awesome.
Of Abens Solutions. So we had a little ceremony here, and I told them, I said, I've worked with quite literally thousands of professionals through my career. And it is a rare event that I've worked with people who are better than Kyle and Chris.
Right.
The work ethic they put forth is unbelievable. I mean, nobody sees it. I see it. Nobody sees it, on the outside. They just, see you're able doing well and always developing, and customer service being absolutely impeccable. They don't see what goes into make that happen.
Right.
I do. I get the opportunity to see that. I see the long hours. So that was a really nice opportunity to reward those guys last night with, official ownership in the company, because I wanted to carry it myself to begin with. Because, we started the company with just, mine and Vicky's retirement money. That's how we went into this. I didn't want to go outside for investment money, because I wanted to do this the way I wanted to do it. But I wanted to carry the liability and the risk in the process. I didn't want to put that on the kids. So now that, we've been in business 5 years now, which is unbelievable to say, we're way over that risk hump at this point. So it was the opportunity to enroll the kids, into real ownership of the business instead of just.
That's a whole different, that's a different way to do things, right? Like so many people, and I mean, you're not a billionaire and any of that kind of stuff,
No.
but at the same time, it would be easy for you to have provided a nest egg for your kids or whatever, just as a gift, right? But you said, I have this, we've got this thing. I can bring in my kids who I trust and love and know that they're going to do a good job. I can teach them along the way and let them earn it, right? Like they have had to earn that ownership. I don't know Kyle very well, but I know Chris quite well. Love that girl. I consider her one of my industry daughters. It's funny because the first call I ever had with Chris, when I was kind of learning about Urable and all this, and this was like way at the beginning. I remember you and I have early conversations as you guys were kind of just doing this. And I told her, I'm like, Chris, stop giving the general public your telephone number. You are a young, attractive, professional woman. You cannot give a group of detailers your personal phone number. This is a bad idea. And I think eventually she started changing the way that she did those calls.
But you're right. The kids have earned this through a lot of hard work, unbelievable hours and effort on both their parts. So it was really rewarding last night to have that little ceremony here with them.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's super cool, and I'm super excited for all of you guys.
Last. I mean, because we're building Urable to be a family legacy kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Urable is the brand. I mean, Abens Solutions is the company.
Right. Yeah.
But this is long haul stuff for us, right? So giving people things because you're capable isn't the best way to help them,
right?
In the long term. Yeah, it's nice in the short term, but it doesn't set them up for success on their own, because I'm going to be dead at some point, right? We're all going to. Yeah. I want them to have a full toolbox like I have, and that comes from putting in the work.
Yeah.
It's not about having a fat bank account. It's about putting in the work and earning that money.
And developing a skill set that they probably could have gotten over time, but it may, instead of taking a couple of years, it may have taken 20 years to kind of get to get that experience and all that. So you can gift them that opportunity. You're gifting them the opportunity and taking on the risk, but they have to do the work to make it happen.
Yeah. And the opportunity to mentor, both kids, kind of like, this is how you can run a world-class business. Because I mean, not everybody's got the experience. Well, hell, nobody's got the experience I've had. Everybody's journey is unique.
Right.
So all of that kind of stuff over, DuPont, AstraZeneca, Pentec Health, all the things that I've learned, I've had the opportunity to, put out in bite-sized nuggets for the kids in certain situations that help them become, better leaders, better people, because they're going to end up having, an entire team at some point in time. We can't keep growing the way we're doing just amongst ourselves. We just brought Grant Menard on as our national account manager. That's a huge hire for us.
Yeah.
And that'll be the first of many, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And hey, I got to tell you, they're not going to be reporting to me. I'm on this side of.
You're going to be on the racetrack. You'll be on, if you need me, I'll be on the racetrack, right?
The kids are on this curve. I'm on this curve.
Yeah, what a great opportunity for them, though. Like, I would have loved, I've spent the last 25 years kind of learning all this crap, still making mistakes. I just turned 51 last month. I would have loved to have the opportunity for someone to walk alongside me early in those career choices and entrepreneurial choices. And, what a blessing for them, but a blessing for you. I have two kids, 25 and 24. And, the pride that you have to have, in these kids is through the roof. And how exciting that's happened.
How lucky are we as a family that, we have the skill set, within the family. This couldn't have happened without kind of all of us with our own little twist on the theme coming together, because the three of us are quite different. Yeah. Chris and I are pretty similar. But, I bring a lot more years and, scars.
I've had the crap kicked out of me a few more times.
That's right. I bring a lot more, damage into this than them, so I can help them avoid some of the potholes. But yeah, it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done, professionally, is mentoring my kids through this whole thing.
Yeah.
And now, just seeing them flourish as adults, it's a dream,
Yeah, I don't know what it says about me, but both my girls distinctly said they did not want to work for me. So I think that says more about me than it does about them, but we'll take it. They might come around later.
Yeah, you never know.
So let's talk about Urable. So walk me through, how did that idea come about? did you, again, it's like, I see a need, I know the end result, let's make it happen?
It wasn't quite that linear. I'm a car enthusiast. You guys don't see it, but I got, pictures of my car all over the place here. I race my car, so I really drive my cars. So I'm very heavy on the protection side of things.
Yeah.
So I've been into ceramic coatings for a long time, really since they launched over here in the U.S. The services delivered to me were always awesome by these high-end detail shops, but nobody had systems built around it. So it was always a crappy customer experience for me.
No reminders, no management system.
Communication like that. Are you kidding? I'd never know when the thing's done. I'd be making the call. Is the car done? Oh, no. We got a couple days left. A couple days? What are you doing? You had it a week. It was it didn't run great, but I thought, well, that's just how they are. They're small businesses. I'm not going to, bite their heads off about it. And, I was a healthcare executive doing my thing at that point. But then when I retired and the kids came up with the idea to start a niche-oriented software development firm, I immediately said, let's do detailing. I'm pretty sure we can fix the entire industry because I don't know how to run a company. I've been doing this for 30 years. I got a pretty good idea. So let's just impart some of this big business thinking and all this stuff that I've learned over the years and help these small businesses just act bigger, be better, match your level of customer experience to the level of services that you deliver, and I just thought the sky's the limit then for these places.
Mm-hmm.
It was a chance for me to give back to, the entrepreneurial community, and they never saw it coming. Nobody asked me to do it. I just thought, oh my God, I could really help a lot of people by doing this, versus going the easy route in retirement, which is to take the big money as a consultant, and help rich people get richer. That's ultimately what you do, right? I'd be helping wealthy people get wealthier. That's what I do. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to help these folks that haven't had the luck and the luxury that I've had through this career. I want to freaking give back and help lots of people lead better lives. And they don't know me from Adam. They don't know anything about me, right? But here we go. We're launching Urable. We're going to do it. It's going to be great. You'll see.
Yeah. And it has been. And I think when we had some of our first initial conversations, I'm like, are you sure you want to do detailing? You're positive you want to do detailing?
Oh, trust me. The lawyers and financial guys have told me the same thing. Are you sure this is what you want to do with your money? Are you sure?
Yeah. It's a great community. I mean, it has its own, just like any industry has its own ups and downs and different personalities and all that. But it's,
for sure. Clearly, but you know what? This kind of thing, and I mean, it's any system. I mean, when you're in big businesses, this is daily life. You're always, because everything's too big. The scale's so big. You have to have it on systems, right? You have to have your pulse on,
because it just doesn't get a little bit broken. It gets like,
it can go
$100 million broken, right?
It can go back quick, So, I just thought, oh my gosh, let me help everybody out with all the stuff that I've learned. So that's why we chucked it out there. Nobody saw it coming. It's like nobody asked us to do it. I just thought, oh my God, this has to be successful. That was my feeling. It was like, how can't this be big? Everybody can benefit from this.
Yeah. And
it's gotten so big now that's the whole industry is driving the evolution of the system now,
Yeah, which is amazing. For those that do not use Urable, which you should be, because that means you're not managing your business as well as you could. But tell me what it is. Like, just walk through some of the highlight features and kind of how it helps the businesses and ROI and profit and all that stuff.
I hate calling it like an all-in-one business management system because it sounds so cliche. But it's something that takes a load off of an entrepreneur. You guys are wearing 15 hats. Why don't you give 12 of them to a system so you only got to wear 3?
Yeah.
You can wrap your head around, that. Focus on that and let a system have your back. So we built Urable to help you look good to your customers at the end of the day. It's got a ridiculously comprehensive feature set to be able to accomplish that. I'm not a big this feature, that feature kind of guy. Right. the magic in Urable is more of how each feature kind of interacts with the other to create a great customer experience and a great impression of your business to your customers. Like we always get it in our private groups. It's like, they always reach out and they say, man, a customer came up and they, finally, to the shop, they dropped their car off and they thought, wow, I thought you'd be much bigger than this.
That's good. That's exactly what you want.
It's because, they come across so freaking professionally with all of just, it's how everything interacts and creates this great customer experience. Because again, we built this from the customer's experience point of view. Right. I just imparted all of the, internal operational kind of stuff in it. So you can do your time tracking and payroll and all that kind of stuff, right? You can do all that nuts and bolts stuff, analyze your business, see how it's going, make sure that your pricing supports your infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. So it does all that. But the real focus of it was to make small businesses really look good.
Yeah.
Because that imparts confidence in your customers, and then your customers feel good about choosing you as their service provider and then spending good money with you.
Yeah.
And it allows everybody to charge a premium. If you're coming across professionally, charge professional rates.
Right.
You need to compete with the kid down the street with a bucket and a sponge doing $20 car washes. That's not your business.
Right. Not your customer, as we've said many, many times.
Right. So it's like you should be charging a premium. You're offering a premium service. But if you're going to do that, then have your act together. Strong communication is really key. Right. Mm-hmm. So you have to really button that down. Nothing hurts like a no call, no show. So make sure you take care of that. Plug that hole. And then nothing hurts like not taking advantage of your existing customer population.
Oh man, that is such a big thing. Did that surprise you? How bad that was?
No, because I experienced it. So those are the two things that we fixed first in the industry, right? With Urable. It was about deal with this no call, no show thing, because that hurts people like immediately. And then help everybody friggin' follow up with their customers after they've delivered a service and get them back in. It was like, oh my God, like I'd have to call my places up. I'm like, are you guys still in business? I haven't heard from you guys in like a year. Why don't you reach out to me?
Yeah.
I've got money. I beat my car to death. I know I need your services again. Why do I need to keep reaching out to you? Why aren't you reaching out to me?
Yeah.
And it's not because they didn't want to. They had no means to do it. There's only so many hours in a day, and it's so hard to do that kind of long-term follow-up stuff. So when we did Urable, I said to the kids, we are fixing this. We are fixing this. We are going to automate this thing, and it is going to drive repeat business for these businesses, and it's going to help them a ton.
Yeah. And again, you got nurture funnels and sales funnels. I come from the retail side. I sell crap online. Like if you leave without buying something, you're going to get at least 3 emails unless you unsubscribe asking you to come back and check out. If you do buy something, you're going to get a thank you note and probably 5 more emails asking you to buy something else. Here's a coupon. And then you're going to get regular emails from me until you tell me to stop sending them. And I don't think detailing or most small businesses don't even understand the concept of that. But to be able to automate that through something like Urable, like it just is kind of brainless then. It just happens.
Yeah. And the way we do it, is really unique too. So we're very particular on how we handle our, mass marketing. It's not the traditional carpet bombing kind of thing. I don't like those types of campaigns. So we don't.
I do it just with customers or potential customers
for sure. And that's but you're delivering something of relevance then, right?
Yeah.
So then your open rates are higher. Your sender reputation stays strong. You don't have a ton of opt-outs that kill your sender reputation.
Yeah.
And everything gets diverted to spam. These are all the little nuancy things that nobody talks about, but we pay particular attention to this, right? We're always looking at this stuff and we're protecting our customers kind of from themselves.
Yeah.
It's like, because they're always asking us, can you put, mass marketing into the system? I said, of course we could. I'm not gonna. Yeah. If you want to do mass marketing, use a system outside Urable and ruin your reputation there. Don't do it in the system. Because you want
or use a system that is particularly designed to not ruin your reputation.
What?
Yeah, right.
It's like
Yeah,
use MailChimp, Constant Contact, SendGrid, whatever the heck you want to
yeah,
use. Friggin' use that and then sync it with your Able.
yeah,
So you get to do your mass marketing. You want to do those things, friggin' go crazy with it. But I want to cocoon the sender reputation within your Able so
yeah,
that these high value long-term reminders, like you and I were just talking about, those things land to bring people back in.
yeah,
Right. Those are the important messages that you want to make sure you land. So commingling those high value type communications with kind of low value carpet bombing, mass marketing,
yeah.
that's not good. You
Right.
really want to keep those in their own buckets.
Yeah, for
So that's
sure.
why I'm always talking people off the ledge. It's like, we don't include it, to be mean.
Yeah.
There's a reason we don't.
Yeah, because most people don't know any different. I mean, there are systems
No,
out there
no.
that help you with it and all that, but most people don't know the difference. One of the things that has always surprised me about most small businesses, but detailing in particular, is I've been talking about this for like 10 years, this lifetime customer value number.
Mm-hmm.
And why people focus more on this week's revenue than the lifetime customer value of this particular customer is crazy. And that all of that nurture is what gets us past that, right?
Yeah, well, but this industry, when we first got into it, it was like obsessed with new customer acquisition.
Yeah.
It didn't do anything with retention type
Yeah.
programs, right? So that's what we really wanted to make sure we changed. And it's hard. I get it.
Yeah.
It's hard,
Yeah.
but that's why you have a system like you're able to automate that stuff for you.
And most people don't even have any idea what customer acquisition costs are, how much I made, our profit margins, all that stuff.
That's all nuts and bolts stuff.
Yeah,
Any
yeah.
system can help you with that stuff, and that's
it's awesome that you guys have that to do. And, you guys are able to connect. And you were talking about kind of this birth to grave customer experience too. And one of the things that Detailers Roadmap is able to do is so the forms on your website actually get put directly into your Able. So there's no double entry data. And if you've never done a bunch of customer data entry, you would not realize how awesome this is to have this feature. But yeah, it's something that really works.
Yeah,
really
that
well.
and just all the import stuff. Like if you can have your customers or products and services in some kind of spreadsheet, you can import it into your Able. You don't need to manually enter the stuff today. Today's day and age, there's no reason to be doing that kind of thing. But yes, you're right. The forms on a website, very simple way to get new customers into the system, and then do business with them, and then put the system to work for you and keep them coming back.
Yeah. Any way we can get that information as quickly as possible makes a huge difference. Because then it's part of the customer experience. Because then we can give, the phone call or email or text or whatever that happens to be right away, versus having them fill out a form. You check your email 12 hours later, all of that stuff, right? Like it's definitely something that works really well.
Yeah.
You guys are looking at different, so I'm assuming there's new verticals that we're looking at. If you don't know what verticals mean, it's basically a new market. How are you guys deciding which markets to look at next?
Honestly, we're singularly focused on the detailing market. So it's detail tint PPF. A lot of people don't like to be, categorized.
Right. Yeah.
The PPF guys hate
automotive appearance care. We'll just use that fancy word, right?
Oh, maybe we'll rename something.
You could use that,
Hold on, let me write that down. So, we're still really singularly focused on that, but because our audience isn't just doing that, they're running other businesses too, and other verticals. So they're using your Able to run that side, those other businesses, but it's not made for it, right? And I hate systems with compromises.
Yeah, we call that shoehorning, right?
Oh,
let's force this software to do something I want it to do.
Grinds my gears, and and that's what people have been doing in this industry for 50 years. They've been duct taping all these things together to try and get it to do something. Right? Well, now you have something all in one place to do it. So the first one that we just came out with, we haven't even done a big launch on this, just kind of a soft launch, is lawn care. Because a lot of our detail business owners also have lawn services. Yeah. It's a completely separate business, its own staff and all that. So we built a particular version of your Able that is specifically for that because it's quite different than automotive. There's a lot of similarities because they're both service-based businesses. So all of the good communication that you'd want to have with customers is pretty much overlapping. But, things like property segment measuring and mapping and stuff like that to be able to, for a lawn care person to not stand on the street and kind of eyeball your property. Yeah, that'll be $100. It's like that doesn't convey professionalism. It doesn't create confidence in your customer. But if you're sitting there on your phone mapping out their property and it spits out an automatic quote for you based on the size of it and how fast your lawnmower goes and how much interference there is on that property, now you're talking. You're giving confidence in that buyer that, okay, I think I want to work with this guy versus that kid that stood there and gave me the eyeball. Right? I mean, it's a different customer experience. So it's the same kind of core concept, but executed differently.
Well, and I would almost think it's not an easier path, but the standard that's set in lawn care and landscaping is probably even far below what, kind of the beginning detailing, because it's not exactly known for high end,
exactly
service, right?
Exactly. I mean, there's a low barrier to entry to get into it. So a lot of people get into it that, they don't have the wherewithal to get into something more sophisticated. So they find themselves going into that and then just, they only take cash or they're chasing checks all the time. It's like, oh, come on. So we're trying to help these people. And it's very analogous to the same thing. We want to help small entrepreneurs just lead a better life. They're willing to put in the work and, God bless them for doing it, right? They're willing to put in the work. Let's help them out with some stuff, from big business, even though they're tiny little businesses. They don't know what they don't know. So let's go ahead and deliver, a nice feature set to them that makes their life easier. And they can
makes them better business owners. Like that's my whole thing. I don't care if you're in detailing or lawn care or you're a salon owner or whatever. If you're an entrepreneur and a small business owner, that's your role first. And then the thing that you do becomes secondary. So you have these core competencies and core knowledge to help any small business, but then you can branch out into these different industries that make sense. Right?
We're going to be careful about it though. And like I said, because we're not really going after it. We're getting more pulled into it, Flat glass is another one. Different. It's just a fundamentally different thing. It tends to be commercial to commercial type work. There's some residential work, but the bulk of it is commercial to commercial. So the creating proposals and things like that is a fundamentally different structure. So we're building that out too. Because I don't like people shoehorning. I hate it. I hate it. So it's like, oh God, that kills me. Let me, fix this and give you something that's built for the purpose.
And I would guess that Kyle was pretty instrumental in developing the software in a modular format. I'm an old school web developer, app developer, and all that. So if it's modularized, then it becomes a little bit less problematic, right?
It's a bit more complicated than that with the infrastructure.
I'm sure. No, but you don't have to redesign the entire software every time.
I get that. It's very simple to kind of unplug this and plug that.
Right.
We actually can't do that.
Really? Oh, okay.
We built the system like this, man.
Oh,
it's so woven together, but that's what creates these unique interactions between the features. It's not this feature and then you leave that bucket and you pop over here into this one. No, it's more like this, and that goes to the. I mean, I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to share trade secrets. But
I'm not here to give proprietary information. In other words, it's more complicated. It's more spaghetti. He's making if you're just listening to this, he put his fingers together and could, that's everything's connected.
Yes, it's 3-dimensional chess, not checkers.
As it turns out, software development is not all that easy, right? That's
that way. But yes, a lot of the core functionality is quite transferable to other service-based businesses.
Nice.
But it's always the details that make the difference, though.
I want to ask you one thing about that I keep seeing over and over again. It's one of the things that kind of drives me crazy is like from a guy that said, hey, it's 24/7 for 10 years. I built this, I worked this hard and all that kind of stuff. But talk to me about, I don't know, I've never asked you this question before, hustle culture, right? Like if you hustle and then let everything else in your life slide, you will have more success than if you don't. And I know just from looking from the outside and knowing you that's, you worked your ass off, but you worked your ass off from a business standpoint, but as from a life standpoint, right?
Yeah. We talked about that on the Maxed Out Man. I tried to really focus on being a present dad. When I came home, I left my troubles and worries in the garage before I came in the house. My kids didn't need to feel my stress level. They just didn't need to feel it. So I was careful about the environment that I kind of created in the household, along with Vicky, of course. Thank God for a great spouse.
Thank God for good wives, right? Yeah.
I'm telling you. But yeah, the hustle culture. It's not good. There's always a time where you have to do a sprint.
Yeah.
There is. We all have to do it. I'm still doing it in Urable land. I'm working way too hard. The kids are on me right now about managing my time better.
Yeah.
So that's going to be one of my things in 2024 is to take a big step back and stop answering, private messages at midnight. We should act like we have normal business hours, like a normal company. And, people shouldn't get upset if I'm not answering them in 2 minutes when they message me at midnight.
First of all, they shouldn't be messaging you at midnight. So anybody that's doing that, that's listening to that, stop.
Oh man, it's every day, every day. So it's like, I need to do a better job at kind of listening to my own advice that I give people about create quiet time, take a break. You need to mentally recharge. You can't keep going full tilt all the time. There are periods where you do, and I get that. We all do it, but be mindful that shouldn't be the majority of your existence. It should be the minority.
Yeah.
So too many people find themselves on the hamster wheel and they are just freaking going. They're just human doings, they're just doing.
Yeah.
They don't really have a clear direction on where they're going. They're just doing stuff. I'm doing a lot of stuff.
I'm busy. I'm hustling. I'm grinding.
Good, right? This is good.
Yeah.
But the hustle culture, too many people wear, the 15-hour day like a badge of honor. You got to start rethinking that. Put systems in place that carry a load for you. Get home. Keep a good relationship with your spouse and your kids. Your friend group, if you're not, married, man, you have to have a good quality of life outside work. It can't all be about the work. So put, systems in place that help carry the load.
Yeah.
That's my advice. And I need to listen to it myself right now.
Well, and again, you're in a little bit of a different stage of life. Whether you're a single person, if you want to work 15 hours a week and you still have friends or 15 hours a day and you still have friends and a life outside of work, that's your prerogative. If you've got a new baby at home, you've been married for a couple of years and you're still doing that, you need to look at that. Because we talked about mortality earlier on, a little bit earlier. My estimation, my guess is when that time comes, and imagine a scene where your whole family, grandkids, everybody's gathered around you. They're not going to be talking about your accolades, with Coumadin. Like that's not what they're going to be talking about. They're going to be saying, dude, you guys were married for 60, 70 years. Your kids, are successful. They have well-balanced lives. They're good people. They've built this career, right? Like all of those interpersonal things that I think so many people forget about in pursuit of, I think it's just, I just imagine that for myself too. Like I could be as successful and as I want to be business wise, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Right. It's so true. Yeah. I'm going to be remembered as, Pop. That's what Jake calls me now. And for building couch forts.
Yeah.
We build a fort on the couch and just have a blast. Right. that's how I want to be remembered,
Yeah.
by my grandkids.
Yeah. And it's just having that balance to
Yeah.
know, to turn it off. And like you said, not bringing in the house and all of that. I'm a huge proponent of the, how you define success and defining it both business and personal, not in lieu of,
Yeah.
for sure. So well, you're a great example of that. I know you guys how long have you been married to Vicky?
Oh gosh, we're together 42 years this year.
Nice.
So married for, oh God, yeah. Oh, 39.
39. Yep. So we talked about this before, but I think you're about 10 years ahead of me in age, and you got married about the same time that we did, all of that. So, cause it was 28 years marriage. We've been together for 30. So, and it's, just like anything else, it takes work, right? But that's the stuff that, my wife has said, look, if things just don't go well, we have to sell everything and live under a bridge. As long as we're together, that's what we'll do. Right. Like, and that's, that's a pretty cool thing to hear. Not that I want that, by the way. Let me just not put that out into the ethos, but
no, but it's that whole idea around contentment that I know we've talked about before.
Yeah.
And Vicky's very, very content. And that creates a really nice feel around the house.
That's awesome. I've never met her. I hope to someday in the future.
She's a gem.
Yeah, I'm sure. The fact that she's like Michelle, I always, the fact that we have friends at all is typically because Michelle is the nicer of the two and the better to be around and the better looking and all of those things. But hey, so is it urable.com? That's where they find more information.
Yeah, you can sign up for a demo. You'll either do that with my daughter Chris or my niece Taylor. We're still very much a family business. We're no different than all you guys listening to this. We're a family business too, trying to make it happen. You can sign up for the free trial. We give everybody 30 days to really kick the tires. We urge you to reach out to us early and often through that. Yeah, there's no limit on the number of video calls you can jump on with us, and the kids will take you through everything, answer very specific questions about your particular business model and how Urable can address it.
Yeah. And let me just say that is rare. I use at least 15 different software website systems in my businesses, and you don't get that. Like, you get a free trial, maybe 7 days, 14 days. You search the internet to try to find a 30-day one so you can actually try this. But you don't get on the call with someone typically unless you're spending 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand. So the way you guys have done that in terms of, again, customer experience, right? Yeah. Like, it starts from the very first call. And I've always been super impressed with that.
It does. That's part of the Abens experience we're trying to do. And that was part of why, we wanted to define what kind of business do we want to create.
Yeah.
And we're doing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't get much better than your family. I'm honored to call you guys friends, and I'm super excited to see what's next. And thanks for taking the time, Michael.
No, I love it. Thanks for offering the opportunity.
Yeah. All right, man. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
See ya. Head over to detailersroadmap.com and get your one-stop success solution today.